Joining us now to talk about the Israel-Hamas war, reaction here in the U.S. and around the world is a top advisor to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Mark Regev. Mark, thanks for being here. I want to get your thoughts about what John Kirby said, what the president said about trying to get a pause, to get hostages out, to get people out of Gaza, and how that's being received by leadership in Israel.
So, as you know, there's currently 242 abductees, hostages that have been held since the terrible massacre of October 7th. They're being held by Hamas, among them 30 children, including toddlers, infants, and even babies. Hamas has shown itself to be a despicable, barbaric organization who kidnaps babies, only someone like Hamas. So to get them out, we can do two things. We can rescue them, and there was a successful IDF rescue, as reported by Fox a few days ago, and we hope to be able to do more on that. Another way is to get them out through diplomatic pressure and military pressure. And we've had two pairs come out, a pair of Americans with the first out, and then we had a pair of Israeli women, elderly women, who came out after that. Now, when we facilitated those releases, of course, there were, as your White House spokesperson said, there was a temporary pause to allow the people to come out. We've done that before. We could do that again.
You knew going in, and when this started, that the images that we were going to see inside Gaza, like we're looking at on the screen here, of civilians who were killed in bombings or raids or other operations, would be shown all around the world, and they are being shown. You can, dispute the Red Crescent's numbers. You can dispute what Hamas is putting out as far as the number of civilians killed, but it's definitely in the thousands. Is there a point at which you will assess the benefit or lack thereof of continuing to go deep into Gaza to take out Hamas leadership based on what the casualties on the civilian side are?
I think, Brett, in any military operation, you want to assess constantly the success of your strategy and to look again and are you doing the right thing? What can you do to improve your strategy? That has to be in any military operation. But our goal is clear. We will destroy Hamas's military machine and dismantle its political control over Gaza, because any alternative is just to return to where we were on the morning of October 7th, with this terrorist enclave on our southern border. These vicious, brutal terrorists who, as you know, Brett, and has been reported widely, they raped, they murdered, they massacred, they beheaded. These people are truly, as President Biden said, sheer evil. They murdered parents in front of their children, and conversely, they murdered children in front of their parents. Despicable, terrible things, horrific things, and we went through it. We have no intention of enduring this sort of barbaric attack in the future. And the only solution is to destroy this organization. Evil must be defeated, and we, as I said, we will dismantle its capabilities to inflict this sort of harm upon us in the future.
And we have depicted and talked about the videos that we have individually seen. We have reporters on the ground who've confirmed those stories. We've been telling that story all the way along. I'm just also telling the other side of that story, and on the inside of Gaza, and what you're hearing from the Biden administration and what you're seeing around the world as far as support. When you look at headlines inside Israel, there are and about Israel, there are headlines that are tough for the Israeli prime minister, that he faces a reckoning over what happened, that the sidestepped accountability. There are negative headlines, obviously, and you see that all the time with various leaders. Is there a fear that this is a very dangerous political position for the Israeli prime minister at this moment?
I think, this country has had a very passionate and vibrant political discussion, people who like the prime minister and people who dislike him. And that's the nature of democracy. That, America and Israel have that in common. People, openly talk their views. But I think most Israelis today are united in the effort to defeat Hamas. That has to be done. And everything is being put aside. There's a national effort underway to defeat this brutal enemy who slaughtered our people. And we have to win. After victory, and victory will come, I'm certain of that, there'll be plenty of time for partisan politics again. At the moment, though, we're united. And I think the factor that shows that the most is that one of the opposition parties that was very vocal of its criticism of Netanyahu joined the coalition 2 weeks ago. They've said, for this crisis, we have to work together, and that's 100% correct. There'll be plenty of time for politics when this is over. At the moment, we've got to be focused on one thing, victory.
Yeah. And, I heard somebody the other day say before October 7th, there was a ceasefire with Hamas, that Hamas broke that ceasefire. Is that how you look at it?
For sure. Look, there was a serious attempt by Israel to see if it was possible to find some sort of, uneasy quiet with Hamas. We knew that Hamas were extremists, but we thought maybe we had deterred them through our military strength and that through providing economic incentives to keep the peace, we could create some sort of stability. But that strategy failed. Some people were telling us, international interlocutors were saying the same. They were saying Hamas rules 2.3 million inhabitants of the Gaza Strip. That must mean they have to, the responsibilities of government force them to become more pragmatic, force them to become more moderate. That's what we were told. But the truth is Hamas proved itself on October 7th to be an extremist, brutal organization, to be, the German Chancellor compared them to Nazis, and I think it's fair to say, by looking at their violence, far worse than ISIS. ISIS didn't burn babies alive. ISIS didn't rape. ISIS didn't butcher children in their beds with machine gun fire. I've seen the pictures. You've seen the pictures. This sort of violence is... No country should have to undergo what Israel underwent on October 7th. And we definitely won't go through it again. And the only way to prevent that from happening is to disarm Hamas, to dismantle Hamas. And that's what we're doing.
Mark Regev, Senior Advisor to the Israeli Prime Minister. Mark, we appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me, sir.
Up next, former President Donald Trump's adult sons testify at that civil fraud trial in New York, accusing his family of inflating